I am so excited. Today is a super special day. Of course, my products had already launched the Ranger and Spellbinders Christmas collection, which is so exciting. And today it's becoming more available at lots of different retailers. So of course it's available at scrapbook.com, it's available at Ranger's website, at Spellbinders website, and it's becoming available at Simon's Stamp as well. So I have all the links down below in the description box and here in the chat as a pinned comment so that you guys can check it out. Be sure to kind of look at the site as I'm going through it if you want to. It's gonna be a ton of fun. All right, I see lots of comments already. I also have to say thank you so much to this amazing community. It always means so much. Like, I get a little bit nervous before these lives, and it means so much to see all of you guys in the comments. So I really do appreciate it. I also wanted to mention there is licensed artwork in this collection, so not everything is hand-drawn by me anymore. It's really fun to license artwork from different artists because you get the kind of different styles in there, you get to play with different effects, and in the past I might not have been able to get exactly what I want through my drawings. So you're going to see some licensed artwork throughout today's live stream as well, and we've curated it to create this really beautiful Christmas collection. We've got a lot to get through, so let me turn on my work surface and get right into it. I'm so excited to share with you everything that we have. All right. So of course, let's start out with the stamp sets. I'm gonna go in first with the Winter Woodland stamp set. Now these are the same Ranger stamp sets that you know and love. They're photopolymer, they're made in the US, and they're 6 by 9 inches. So these stamp sets are absolutely massive, which is awesome. We have this really fun bird on a branch here with those different holly berries to make it a holiday image. We have this adorable deer with this large kind of poinsettia floral wreath below him. This deer I love too. He looks a little bit confused, but he's standing tall and mighty. And then we've got the two little polar bears here kind of looking at each other. And then of course, this adorable little Christmas rabbit. And let me just tell you, when I saw this set, I fell in love with the artwork and the playfulness of it. And then I added in some bold sentiments that you could use on the cards and some smaller sentiments to use along with the things. And of course, some gifts to mix in there as well. Lots of you guys are loving this set already, which is so exciting. And there is coordinating dies for this set. So these coordinating dies are made by Spellbinders. We've done a collaboration with them as well. And all of the images in this set get cut out with the coordinating dies. It just excludes the different sentiments in the set. But so much fun. I know you guys are going to absolutely love the coordinating dies. Lots of you have been asking about them since we started. And I'm going to be honest, it took a lot of convincing to get coordinated dies in my collection. It also took both of the timelines to line up. So a huge shout out to both Ranger and Spellbinders for making all of this line up and really working together to make it work. And if you guys show this lots of support, of course, we can keep going with coordinated dies, which is so exciting. Of course, if there's support for it, we'll keep doing it. So I also wanted to share quickly, when it comes to coordinated dies, we wanted to make sure, number one, that if there was little openings in the images, those areas get cut out too. Because there's no point in making a die if you're not going to have every little area be cut out. So this is how our coordinated dies will look. You'll get a nice little white border all the way around, which is super awesome. But it's not too bold of a white border, right? Which I really like. But I like that white border because if you're making a solid color background, or if you've got like lots of colors and inks going on, that's gonna help your image really stand out off of the card. So check that out. I'm in love with this set and the different images, and of course, the dies make it just so simple to cut out. All right, you guys, let's move on to the next set. This one is called Folk Art Ornaments, and I absolutely love this set. So it's got a bunch of ornaments in here that kind of have a nice thin and fine line and tons of designs in here. There's a lot of different detail in all of these different ornament pieces, and they've kind of got more like vintage shapes to them. So I love these kind of different retro type ornament shapes. You've got this beautiful bell and of course a nutcracker and just so much detail. These images have been so much fun to color in. Then we've got a string for the ornaments, and we've got two different types of branches that you can sort of hang them on, which I love. Now, there's also lots of little scripty sentiments in this set, which are just beautiful little add-ons to fit in between the ornaments. But this set is so much fun, like I said, to color in. There's a ton of detail in these illustrations. And then, of course, another coordinated die set. Now this one, there's a couple images in this set that are exactly the same. So you'll see these two, they've got the same outline, same with these two. So we've included one for each pair that are the same, and that way it cuts down on cost so that when you guys are buying them, it's a little bit more affordable. We also were able to fit in all of the little sentiments in this set as well. So in this set, you're gonna have the sentiments to cut out. And if you go on any of the websites too, I know they're a little bit of a jumbled mess. Right now I don't have the packaging yet, but if you go on the website, you can see exactly what images cut out really nicely with the dies as well. But I love this set. Like I said, a ton of detail, and especially in all these little details, like these dies are going to really help when cutting out these different images. All right, moving on to the next set. This one I think is gonna be a fan favorite. Honestly, when it came out on scrapbook.com, it sold out very quickly, so I think you guys are going to be super excited about this one. This is called Halftone Holiday. And again, this is why I love licensing, because this set is made up of a bunch of little tiny dots. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to exactly see it fully in the packaging, but when I show you these stamped images a little bit later when we do our examples, I think you guys are going to fall in love with this set. So check this out. You can see in those little areas, like it's a little bit darker there. That's because there's a bunch of little dots and there's more dots collected in those areas. And so these dots make up the images. So when I ink this up, it's gonna give me all of that amazing shading in red ink or whatever color I use to ink this up. Same thing with all these other images. You've got a bunch of little dots making up all these images, and you're gonna get so much amazing dimension and detail by just stamping it using one color, which is amazing. So you've got the big poinsettia. This is gonna fill an A2 size card really nicely. Two beautiful ornaments with different designs in them, a string for the ornaments. We've got two different types of pine cones here, a bunch of little leaves to add behind the poinsettia. This gorgeous, I think it's holly. I love how it looks. And then this pine branch to hang the ornaments from. And then of course, you have these beautiful different sentiments for the holidays and a couple of littler sentiments to use as sub-sentiments on the front of your card. I can already tell lots of you guys are loving this stamp set. It's one of my favorites too. And then of course, we've got the coordinated dies to cut out everything except for the different sentiments in this set. So all of the images will cut out really nicely. And yeah, I cannot wait to see these too. Like the samples are just amazing when it comes to these. All right, so let me now move on to dies. So we also created a collection with Spellbinders that's releasing at the same time that has a bunch of different dies. These dies are standalone, but can also work really well with all these projects. You'll see them really mixed and mingled together because they work amazing for all of the Christmas projects. All right, so starting off with the candy striped cover plate. I love this one. And this die has two different dies in the set. You have one die that will cut out the stripes on the background, and then one die that cuts out a frame. And if you use the frame by itself, it's just gonna cut out a piece of A2 size cardstock, which is quite nice. It does it quite evenly. And then we have this die. Now this die has these stripes in it, but it has no edge on it, which is really nice because if you want to, you can continue this pattern. So you can die cut it once, and then you can move this die upwards and cut it again because there's no sort of edge to this, right? I cut it out on the edge with just a paper trimmer, but there's no edge. So if I just cut this out of a larger sheet of cardstock too, it would poke out all these little pieces, but it wouldn't cut a frame around it, right? That's where this piece comes in handy. If you want to use them together and tape them together, it's going to then cut it out of a larger sheet of cardstock and cut an A2 size piece with the frame too. And let me show you what I mean. So this is what I mean. So when you put the two dies together, it cuts out the perfect A2 size and it cuts out these stripes. So I cut it out of a piece of red cardstock here to show you sort of the candy cane stripe look, but you can see on a lot of the samples I'm gonna show, I used it in white, and you don't have to make it this bold if you don't want to. It creates a stunning background. And then if you cut it twice and you flip it, it creates this really beautiful plaid pattern. So it's like the perfect Christmas plaid. I absolutely love how this has turned out on my Christmas cards already, and I can't wait to keep using it. It is just gorgeous. And so, yeah, when you flip it like this, you get this sort of plaid pattern, and it makes it so versatile. So I absolutely love how that turned out. And like I said, it doesn't always need to be in sort of these bold colors, but it does look beautiful when you use it like that. All right, so that is the candy stripes die. And of course, you can use this all year round. We're showing it in Christmas and we're using it for Christmas, but do whatever colors you want, and it's gonna create really beautiful year-round projects, which I love. All right, put this guy away. And now when it comes to Christmas dies, I'm obsessed with reindeer. I think I did a reindeer set last year as well. Now this set is called Floral Stag, and in here you get a lot of different types of dies, florals, and different dies to build a deer. And let me show you exactly what you get in this set. So you get a bunch of little dies to build this beautiful stag, and this is an A2 size card, so you can see how nicely it fills up that card. Then you also get the dies to layer together different flowers. So you've got dies to put together a little poinsettia. You have dies to put together this little fun and playful kind of scribbled flower. This one too is just adorable. And then you've got a bunch of different greens and little berries to put on the greens as well. Now, one thing I love about this set, and you'll see when I put it together in a little bit, you'll see just how easy it is. I didn't want a million different pieces that you have to layer together and it's like a puzzle and it makes it really difficult and you're only going to put it together once, right? I wanted this set to be so easy. I think this deer has like 5 pieces that you're putting together, which is super simple, and it has all of the lines to easily put it together as well. I love how it looks. So this set we're going to put together later, and you're going to see how easy it is, but it's one of my favorites, and you'll see just how bold it looks on a card background. All right, you guys, moving on. This is called Joyful Christmas Sentiments, and this set has a hot foil plate, and it has a die that coordinates. And the special part about this is all of the sentiments are on one hot foil plate and all of the dies are on one pass as well. So it takes 1 pass to foil and 1 pass to cut 5 different sentiments. So this is going to be amazing for making Christmas cards, because when you're making cards, right, you want to do things quickly if you're making a bunch of different Christmas cards. So by getting 5 sentiments with just 1 pass is super awesome. So here is how the sentiments look when they're foiled and die cut out. You can see just how beautiful and shiny they are. I love Glimmer hot foil, and I'll show you guys how to use sort of the machine and Glimmer with it, either in a separate video or if we have time today, I'll share that as well. But I love how this turned out, and you can see they're quite large as well for an A2 size card, so it makes it really great to kind of use as a nice focal point. So I love how these turned out, and I can't wait to share later how easy it is to use them. All right, it definitely makes things easier for sure. Yeah, whenever I'm like trying to do things, I try to make it as efficient as possible. And so when it came to this set, it was like, I wanted it to be super easy. All right, next we have the ornament string glimmer plate. And again, there's a string of ornaments and there is a coordinating die to cut it out. And here is how that ornament string looks on an A2 size card. So you'll notice it hangs off a little bit. You're just gonna wanna trim those sections off. But we wanted to make it a little bit longer so that you can have a little bit of room to shift it over a little bit and sort of layer them, 2 on one card. And so this Glimmer hot foil plate is just beautiful, and there is so much detail in these sort of retro looking ornaments. And I also love that it cuts it out, because I love to put these sort of foil plates as a focal point on top of an inked background, and I want to cut it out. So it cuts it out beautifully, really close to that line, and then also it cuts out all of the little holes in between the loop-de-loops so that you don't have those just being big white spaces. So I really love that the team went back and did that, because that little bit of detail really makes it stand out on your card. All right. And then let's go into retro ornaments. So this is another Glimmer hot foil plate and die set. And here is how it looks on an A2 size card. So again, it's really nice and large. It's gonna be kind of the focal point on a card, and check out, I mean, that foiling is just so stunning. It makes for such an elegant look on your card. Again, I love the different details. You can see all those little dots and kind of these star details in here. And I love that you can kind of put this off to one side, or you can use it right in the center of the card. We made these strings long enough that you can kind of hang it and have it kind of, this part be pretty centered if it's hanging from the top, which is just beautiful. I love it. And again, that coordinated die really helps because if you want to put this on top of any sort of background, it makes it so much easier to do so. So I do love that we have the coordinated dies for each one of these. It makes it super easy to be able to foil it and then cut it out as well and put it on whatever project you want to. I mean, imagine like putting these on scrapbook pages too. If you have sort of a Christmas layout, I think they could be super fun. All right. Last but not least, we have the Geo Snowflake's Glimmer Hot Foil Plate. And this is going to cover an A2 size card. And I believe there's also a little bit of overhang too, so you don't have to line it up perfectly, and it's going to foil the whole card base, which is awesome. And here is how that background looks once it's all foiled. We're going to be showing an example of using this a little bit later as well as we're crafting. But I mean, check out that beautiful shine that you get in here. I love it. And we really, revised the artwork that we found quite a bit because in order to make things work for Glimmer Hot Foil Plates, you have to make sure the lines are solid enough. And so we went in and did all these little tiny details. And shout out to the designers because we went through a couple revisions of this one to make sure that it was going to foil perfectly and get this beautiful effect. I love it. So this one has tons of little details in there. And of course it resembles snowflakes, but also like, I feel like this is pretty geometric and you could kind of use it all year round depending on what colors you add to it. It's just kind of this cool geometric look. And yeah, it's so shiny and stunning. And so later today, we're going to be creating a card or a background that looks like this. So like you can see when you add color down to these foiled backgrounds, it really brings them to life, right? You don't have to just foil. You can add inks to it, use all the other Ranger products that we've already created, and like bring everything together because it all works together so beautifully. All right, I'm excited to share that one in a little bit. I also wanted to quickly share and run through the fact that we've already released Christmas products this year, right? We had Christmas in July release, and we had lots of different products that work for Christmas. Like this is a fall release. This one is called the Plaid Builder. I believe it's sold out everywhere, but if you guys have this, it's going to be amazing for your Christmas projects. It has different peel apart sections so that you can create your own plaid, or you can use this by itself to create a plaid. We've got this beautiful tree pattern, which of course you could use in lots of the different samples and combine. This berries and branches is just beautiful. I love it for creating different Christmas wreaths and backgrounds. I actually used one of these different pieces and used the Wreath Builder by Gina K to build a wreath with this. And then of course, these adorable penguins. So polar penguins we released earlier this year. And these again are gonna work just beautifully. Like imagine this with some of those woodland critters, making a scene with some of the different dyes that we've created. So these are gonna all work beautifully. I wanted to remind you, like, don't forget to go in your stash and look back through all of the different stamps that you have to bring together lots of amazing details on your projects. All right, you guys. So let me jump into the card samples now. All right, we've got a lot of card samples. This is a large release compared to what we've been doing. So there's gonna be lots of samples to share as well. So this is using the Halftone holiday set, and I'm gonna lift it up here so hopefully the camera will focus, but you guys can see just how beautiful that detail is in there. Like I said, when you stamp that image down, you can see it's got that built-in kind of depth and dimension to the images. When it leaves it a little bit lighter and when it leaves it darker with those dots, it creates such an amazing effect. So this is using that Halftone holiday set, and then I went in using the Joyful Christmas sentiments. You'll see those mixed in a lot, and that creates just such a beautiful foiled effect on your sentiments. It stands out so nicely, and it's a simple card, but like that really stands out on its own, and this background looks like a beautiful pattern paper that you were able to create yourself. All right. Next, we have this card. I stamped down a lot of the Halftone sentiments, the Halftone images, tone on tone in the background on a piece of red cardstock. And then I went in here and I die cut out of that, and I stamped down the holly image right in the center there. I used little detailed blending tools to get into those little colors. And this one, I used the coordinating die to cut it out. So it creates a peekaboo sort of window on the card. I've been literally waiting to get coordinated dies in order to do this technique for so long. So now that I finally have them, I'm super excited about it, and like check out just how fun that peekaboo type card is. That little window there. All right. Now this one I went in and I stamped down the poinsettia and I used the coordinating die to cut this out. And then I also went back in and stamped it one more time. And I love fussy cutting, so I still went back in and I fussy cut around that. It was pretty simple to do, and then I just layered it together to get a little bit more dimension on the card if you wanted to. I also ink blended a bit on here, and then I stamped down some different leaves all around it. All right, and then I stamped down one of the sentiments from that set as well. And yeah, Ranger's saying it really makes you an artist without having to think about it, which it totally does, because those little dots give you so much shading, and you don't even have to go in with several colors of ink if you don't want to. I did the same thing here, you can see. This time I used one of the Joyful Christmas sentiments that I glimmered, and then I went in using the candy stripes background, but instead of die cutting it, I went in and I impressed it. So you use a rubber mat to do that, and it just gives a nice impression on the background. It gives lots of amazing texture, and it sort of embosses it, which I'll share in an upcoming video as well. This one, I used the Halftone holiday set again, and I used one of the branches here to stamp down a background of branches, and then I stamped one of them and used the coordinating die, and I placed that down, and then I was able to string the ornaments down from it. So I love how that turned out. You can see those ornaments are just stunning with all of that amazing depth and dimension in those as well. Super fun. This one is awesome. I went in and I used the candy stripes background, and then I went in and used it as a stencil. So I went in using lunar paste. I lunar pasted it one way, and then I lifted the candy stripes background. I flipped it, and I did lunar paste the other way. I've been all about plaid recently, and so this shiny plaid is just so gorgeous. Like, I absolutely love how it looks. And then I went on top and I stamped down the ornaments again from the Halftone holiday set, and then here I embossed one of the sentiments from the Halftone holiday set too. I love how it looks, right? That shine is just gorgeous. So once again, don't forget about all of your supplies. Like, use them all together, because those lunar pastes are gorgeous for Christmas and adding all that shine. All right, next we're gonna have the winter woodland stamp set. I love this one. So I used the bird on a branch here, and I colored it in using some of my Simon Hurley Crate inks and some watercolor. Love it. And then I die cut it out, so we were able to get those clean lines around it by using the die. And then here I did a tone on tone look. So like I said, you don't have to go bold, right? You can really keep it nice and simple and layer this together with the same color cardstock to get a nice texture in the background. So I love how it turned out. It gives a nice elegant and classy look. This dark greenish blue color is one of my favorites. Hey, Kathy Zilski. Good to see you here. All right, now same thing with this one, Winter Woodland stamp set. I love this deer. Like I said, he just stands so tall. He's bold and I love it. And then I went in with that candy stripes die and I embossed it again. So use your rubber mat. Don't forget about using your rubber mat with dies, because you can emboss them into the cardstock rather than getting a cut. Then I went in and I ink blended the background. I splattered it with some gold lunar paste. I watered it down a little bit and then splattered it, and then added down this bold sentiment that says walking in a winter wonderland. I love it. It just is such a fun, clean and simple card, but that little bit of like texture and some of those little details are really gonna help make the card stand out nicely. All right, moving on to the next set, we've got the folk art ornaments. This one is one of my favorites. Like, all of the little detail in these ornaments, I think when you see it in the package, you know, all of the black lines can sometimes be a little bit intimidating. I always say that it's like, sometimes the sets look intimidating, but then when you pull them out and you start coloring them, you're like, wow, like, they're just gorgeous. And so when you go in and color this in, they just look so beautiful, and you can go in and do detail coloring, or you can keep it pretty simple like I did with just a wash of color. And then here in the background, I stamped that branch repeatedly and I heat embossed it to get a little bit of shine and texture. So simple. This one of my favorites. I used the nutcracker from that folk art ornaments set, and I colored different nutcrackers in using different colors. And again, it was so simple to use that coordinated die and cut it out 3 times. If I didn't have that coordinated die, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I would have cut all these out. So I love that you're able to cut them out so quickly, because it makes putting cards together just amazing. I stamped down the Joy to the World sentiment from the Halftone holiday set. That Halftone holiday set has the most amazing sentiments in it. Same with the glimmer foil plates. And they're just so easy and versatile to use on lots of cards. And then of course I used the candy stripes background again. I did white on white for lots of amazing texture here. All right, now getting into the stack we have for the die release. Here I used the candy stripe cover plate, but I cut it out twice, and I rotated it like I showed you. So here we've got that beautiful sort of tone on tone plaid. It gives such amazing texture to it. And then here I used the floral stag, and I used it just like you'll see on the package, where you can put kind of a bouquet of flowers down below, and then you place the deer down too, and it just creates such like a focal point on the card, right? This is all you need, and it finishes off that card so beautifully, right? You could put these flowers above and give it sort of a flower crown, but I love them below it too. All right. Now here with this one, I used the Geo Snowflakes background. I glimmer hot foiled it to get that beautiful shine in there. Of course here I blended it using inks. So I used 3 different shades of red. You can sort of get darker by the edge, and it creates such a great area to put a focal point because it's so much lighter in the center that that's where it's gonna draw your eye. And then I placed down the floral stag, but the cool part about this die set is you don't need to use the florals. We really gave you a 2-for-1 because you could use them both together, but also you could use the florals by itself, and you can use the deer by itself. So a ton of people ask me, like, how do you make more masculine cards? Here's how. This deer set has been amazing for making more masculine cards, especially for the holidays. You know, you can incorporate a glimmer hot foil plate and keep it really simple with just this bold image on the front. I love it. Now with this one, I did the same thing. You can see here I used the glimmer hot foil plate to create that sentiment, and then I used just 1 poinsettia. So instead, I didn't do the whole bouquet of flowers. You can keep it as simple or as detailed as you want. And so here, just using 1 flower, it kept it super simple to put together this card. All right. Like I said, for the next one, you can use just these florals by itself. So with this one, I actually used the Glimmer Hot Foil Plate, the Geo Snowflakes foil plate, and I used it in stamping foam, and then I was able to stamp the image down. So I stamped the reverse image, leaving the design white and giving lots of amazing color for the background. And then for the focal point, I used the Floral Stag set. So this is just 2 of the poinsettias from that Floral Stag. It creates such a beautiful bouquet, right? They're pretty small, but grouping them together like this creates such an amazing focal point. And then I just stamped down the Happy Holidays from the Halftone holiday set. Just so stunning. This one is one of my favorite cards I've ever created. I love it. I had so much fun just going nuts with both stamping and die cutting because it really changes the world of crafting when you have the ability to use the coordinated dies or use the dies by itself and get so much dimension from it, right? So here I used the Candy Stripes die. I used the scraps. I cut it out of a piece of cardstock that I covered with lunar paste. So this is slippery and wet lunar paste. It's perfect goldish color for the holidays. And I inlaid those to get that beautiful inlay design of those stripes. And then I was able to use the Floral Stag set, and I made, I think, like 4 or 5 of each flower and each leaf, and I put it all together as kind of a bouquet going across the card. So simple to do, and it makes such an amazing impact. I love it. Like, there's so much detail to this. I'm gonna be honest, this one is going to someone special because this took a long time to do, but it's beautiful. I love it. Such a great focal point on the card. All right, now moving into the ornament foil plates. Thank you, everyone's loving that card. Thank you so much. Kathy Zoski says that's next level. Thank you guys. So here I just created an inked background with my Simon Hurley Create inks, and then I was able to go in with the retro ornaments. I simply foiled those and die cut them out, and you can see that it makes such a great focal point on just such a simple background like this. And then I glimmer hot foiled the Christmas sentiments as well. So simple, but this shine is amazing. Of course, Kathy, I will send it right out. Of course. Here I used the Geo Snowflakes and I impressed it. So again, you can use these to sort of get a great embossed look as well. I impressed that down into there to get lots of detail. And then to highlight the details, I inked this up with a couple of different bright colors of inks. And you can see that it just makes that detail really stand out. I think I sprayed it down and like watered it out so it gives that cool kind of watercolor look. And then you can see, again, I used the same foil plates. And you can get so many different effects with this, which I love. I love it. All right. Here I used the plaid maker. If you can see that in the background, it's pretty subtle because I did it tone on tone. But like those little details are what really counts in these cards. And in person, you can see it a lot better. And then I used the retro ornaments, glimmer hot foil plate, but I stamped it into stamping foam. So it creates a reverse image and then you're able to stamp with this image, which I love. And I inked it up with a couple of my Simon Hurley Create inks, and then I glimmered it with the sentiments. Kathy, that's a great question. Yes, I am foiling. So all of this foiling that I've done, I use my Simon Hurley Create Stark White cardstock. I find it works pretty nicely. I haven't experimented too much with cardstocks, but I like this one because it doesn't warp, because it's heavyweight, but also because it takes ink really nicely. I'll show that in a little bit, but that was a good point, because whenever I do foiling, I like to use the Stark White cardstock just because I use so much ink. I know some people recommend using kind of a glossier cardstock, but I don't, because I want to ink things up and give it all of that bright color. Here I used the ornament string set. I did 2 times on red cardstock, and you can create sort of these beautiful backgrounds with different ornament strings hanging down. And then I just simply blended around the edge and added a sentiment down. And it's just so simple, right? Keep the card simple. When there's foiling on it, that is like the focal point. It stands out on its own, right? You don't need too much else on there. And then last but not least, I used the candy stripes background again here, and then I used the circle cut stamping foam. So again, going back to all the different supplies you might have in your craft room, and I stamped this in twice. So all I did was take the circle cut stamping foam, I heated it up, and then I pressed it in, lifted it quickly, and pressed it again. And I was able to get 2 impressions on one go, and then I stamped it down, and it's just so beautiful. So using the stamping foam is a great way to get more use out of your hot foil plates or dies or anything in your craft room to get lots of beautiful texture and dimension from it. All right, you guys, I hope you're loving seeing those samples. And now that we're done going over all the different samples, we can go in and start crafting. So I'm going to set these off to the side. There was a lot of samples to get through. And now we're going to start off by making a card. So to start this card off, I have an A2 size card base made out of Simon Hurley Create Stark White cardstock. And then I already went through and I used the Candy Stripes die. I almost said glimmer hot foil plate. I used the Candy Stripes die to cut it out of my cardstock so you get that beautiful window, and I've already glued it down because that was going to take a little bit longer. And now I want to create sort of a peekaboo sort of window card, right? So I'm going to go in using the Halftone Holiday Coordinating die set, and I want to use this large poinsettia image. All right, this is the one I want to pull out. So I'm going to grab this image and I'm going to sort of rotate it until I find the area that I want to use on here. I think that looks great. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of mint tape to just lightly tack this down in place to hold everything onto our surface. Super simple. All right, I'm going to place this down. And like I said, you guys, I've been waiting to do this technique. It's the first thing I'm doing because I've been waiting to have dies to be able to do this. I love the look of sort of these peekaboo window cards, and so it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm going to move this out of the way so I can have ample room to run this right through my die cutting machine. All right, so when it comes to your die cutting machine, all you need to do, I use the universal plate system. So just place this down, place it right down onto my cutting mat, and then I'm going to grab my cutting plate right on top, and I'll run it through my machine. Here I'm using the Spellbinders Platinum, but you can run it through any sort of die cutting machine. And it's going through 2 layers of Stark White cardstock there, which is 2 layers of 110 pound cardstock, which is pretty rough to get through. I'm going to run it through twice. Those loud noises are normal, so don't worry too much about that. All right. Run it back through. I know the white on white effect is super classic. I love how it looks. And then I'm going to pop it right out. Now I tested this before the live last night, so it better work on me. And I was surprised. I was like, wow, it cut through 2 layers of Stark White cardstock, which is really a feat in itself. I mean, check that out. It's amazing. All right. So once you have that done, check out that beautiful window that it creates in your card. I absolutely love it. And it's so simple to do, right? All I did was just add down that background down, and then I simply cut out that window. Now, I'm going to use my bone folder just to crease this down a little bit. And then I'm going to bring in my Misty stamping tool because I want to stamp this down. Now I'm using the new black Misty. I love this thing. I've been waiting to get a black one for a while because I love the color of it. And I'm just going to place my magnet down to hold it in place. And I'll also use just a little piece of mint tape as well to hold that card down so that it doesn't open up. And then I'm going to go in using the Halftone holiday set. And this is going to be a testament of this set because it adds such amazing shading and depth to it without even trying. So I'm going to go in using that poinsettia image. I know, the window, it's amazing. That's why I told you, I'm like, did I create a whole line of dies just to do one technique? Maybe. No, I'm kidding. But there's so much you can do with them, which is what I love, right? And you can create such great interactive type cards that you maybe would have never been able to create with just the stamps on its own. I know there was many people that were like refusing to just fussy cut, but there's more to it than just not having to fussy cut, right? You can do some really cool things with it. So now I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna actually bring in a piece of white cardstock here just so you can see the ink going down. And I like to even add a little bit of shading, even though you don't have to with this. All right, I'm gonna go in using a little bit of Love Struck, which is this kind of berry red color. I love it for like poinsettias or holly. It creates such a beautiful effect. All right, so I'm going to ink that up and stamp it right down into that window. Super simple to do. And you guys can already tell, like check that out, one stamped and you get all of the detail. You can see the different leaves, the different petals in there. You've got a ton of amazing shading. I love it in these areas right here where like that petal might be shadowing. It gave extra more dots in that area so that it stamps with all of that shading. So it's a one and done type deal if you want it to be. I'm just a little bit extra and I'm gonna go in and add shading. No matter what, I'm gonna add extra shading. It's just my personality. I can't stop it, right? And so I'm going in using a little bit of Game Over. It's a little bit darker. And then I'm gonna go in using a blending tool and I'm just going to apply ink right into the center of this. And the reason I'm using a blending tool instead of directly from the ink pad is it gives sort of a softer effect. And because we're using our Misty, we can stamp this as many times as we like to get the designated shading that we want. So you can see it got a little bit darker there, but I'm gonna go in even more. There's a little fly flying around, so if you see it, I think I saw it in the screen. I'm going to keep going and layering this up, and you can see it's just getting darker and darker right in that center, which is gorgeous. Check that out. I mean, it's just beautiful. I'm gonna lift this right out of here. And I mean, come on, like that is amazing. So like I said, if you want to, you can add that shading to the center, but it's not necessary to do. And then look at that. So much fun. I've been waiting for a while to be able to do that, and I love how it looks. All right, so that really fun window, you saw how simple that was. We put it together in a matter of minutes, and then simply cutting it out from the front there, and then being able to go through and stamp whatever image inside that we want. And there's lots of images in here you could stamp, right? You could do this with any of the sets too. Like what if you put a nutcracker right in the center and you wanted to die cut that out of the front, or like, you know, a couple of the ornaments from that set. There's a lot of things you can do, and I'm sure I'm gonna have plenty of videos coming soon with different techniques you can do with these coordinating dies. Rather than just, I mean, of course you could just cut them out if you want to too, and it saves so much time, but there's tons you can do. All right, I'm gonna set this off to the side, and we're gonna move into the next technique. So for the next technique, I'm going to turn on my Glimmer hot foil machine. You just saw my face there, love that. I'm gonna turn this on and get it warmed up. So we're gonna wait off to the side to put our sentiments on because I'll show you how easy it is to hot foil the sentiments, which I really love. And I'm going to move into putting together my die cuts, all right? So let's talk about this floral stag set. I showed you guys, you can cut out some amazing things with this set and give such great dimension. But one of the things I love about it, right, is you've got all of these different images in here. And when I was talking to my team about this, I was like, I found the artwork for this beautiful deer and I want it to be simple. So I told them, I was like, I want a layering set, but I want it to be like easy, right? Like this isn't gonna be a puzzle. This isn't gonna take hours to put together. I want you to like have 6 or 7 pieces and be able to have an image that you absolutely love, right? So in this set, we made it really easy, whereas when it comes to the different flowers, if it's a poinsettia, you have all of the images on this one die to cut out and layer the whole entire flower. Now, if you want to, you could go in with several different sheets of cardstock, like in this flower as well. I wanted to use several different colors. I wanted to use a light, medium, and dark colored cardstock. So I ran this die through on every sheet of cardstock I wanted to use, and that way for the really big dimensional card that I put together, each time that I ran it through one time, I got one flower, but I wanted to do it with 3 different colors. So by cutting it out of all 3 colors, you just change how you layer up the different colors. You'll get a different look every time, but you've then cut out 3 different types of flowers and all of the shading dimension that you need for that flower. Same thing with the poinsettias. When you cut it out of one, you're pretty much getting all of the dimension, and you can cut it out of several colors if you want to too, and layer them up a little bit differently. You can see that's sort of how I did these flowers here. Makes it super easy, right? So that's the first thing that we did to make this easy. I wanted you to be able to find everything. I didn't want little berries on one die, right? Because you're gonna lose that. Like these dies, I might even lose because they're small, but like when they get any smaller than this, they're gone. In my craft room at least, it's a mess in here. So when it comes to the leaves are separate, but if the leaf had little berries to go along with it, it will have the berries on that one die as well. Now, the deer head has one die itself, so that's sort of the base there. And then you're gonna get both of the antlers on one, because you're gonna cut that out of one color of cardstock. You're gonna get the eyes and the nose on one, but I'm gonna show you a little hack in case you don't wanna put those little 2 eyes on. And then you're also going to get the snout and the ear pieces, and then some more greenery and florals as well. There's a little tiny flower in there too. I love that little guy. All right, so I wanted to just quickly cover that to show you guys, like, this is gonna be easy. And I'm gonna show you quickly how to put it together on today's live, because I want you to not feel like it's gonna be a big hassle. So if I have anything else that I've already put together for a card and I didn't end up using it, I like to keep everything in the back here. So like in the back of different pockets and packaging, I keep things I didn't use yet, because if I want to die cut this, but I already have something, it's great to go back in that packet and see it. So I've already cut everything out of different color cardstocks. I put them in this little container, and I think it's super helpful to have organized containers like this. So let's say you're die cutting poinsettias, maybe put all of the pieces for those poinsettias in one little slot. I've got the deer head in one slot, and then I have all of the different antlers and snout pieces and everything for the deer. And I cut this out of colored cardstock. Now I know this live stream isn't necessarily about different colors of cardstock, but I was using cardstock from Spellbinders. They had sent me a couple of different colors, and I was excited to test it out and see if I liked it. And I absolutely fell in love. These come in 8.5 by 11 sheets, and I went down and I cut them down to smaller A2 size cards. That way, if I want to use this as a background, I can quickly adhere it down onto a white card base, right? And then if I want to, I can use it for die cutting. Now, the thing I love about this, having this for die cutting, is because then I'm not just cutting down a sheet of cardstock every time I want to die cut. It's super easy. It's the size I need to run through my machine. And then I'm able to go in and, let's say I have a scrap, right? I like to keep my scraps in exactly with that color. That way, if I'm looking for that color, I have already this piece that I'm using, but I can keep die cutting out of it, right? It's not that I'm going to shove this in a different bag and forget about it. I pretty much like use every square inch of these pieces of cardstock. You can see like I've been die cutting out of this, and none of it's going to waste, which is really awesome about this sort of system. So get a nice container for yourself, and if you've already got colors of cardstock, cut those down to A2 size cards, and it makes it so easy to just grab a color and die cut out of. Another thing I like about their color schemes is it goes pretty much from lightest to darkest in almost every color shade that they have, which I love for die cutting, because if I want to layer things up, having different colors, different shades of the same color is really nice. So not an ad for their cardstock, but if you're looking for colored cardstock, I know a lot of people ask me what I use. I either will probably be using Spellbinders, or I also love Gina K's cardstock as well. So that was a little lesson about colored cardstock, a little tangent, but I found that super helpful when I was doing it. So let me show you first how I like to add a little bit of depth to these cutouts. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of ink. Someone said what weight? I believe it's like a layering weight. It might be 80 pounds. Don't quote me on that. Check their website. I have it linked down below so you guys can check it out. So you guys can kind of research it a little bit. It's not the heaviest, right? It's not as heavy as my stock white cardstock, but when you're die cutting, you actually don't want it to be that thick necessarily because sometimes it'll have a hard time cutting out. All right, so I'm gonna go in using a little bit of ink on all of these edges. Here I'm using a little bit of Game Over, and I'm just going to ink this up. Now, the reason for inking, you don't need to do this whatsoever, but the reason that I like to go in and ink is just to add a little bit more depth and dimension to it. You can tell I'm all about the depth from today's live stream. It's like first I shade the points out and now I'm shading little die cuts, but this truly is a little step that will make these go a long way. It really brings them to life because you can use different colors of cardstock if you want to, but like it really just looks so much more dimensional when you add just a tiny bit of ink to the edges of these die cuts. It's a simple step to do, but you're gonna see when this is all put together, it's gonna be like, wow, yeah, that really does add lots of dimension to it. So I've added that down using a little bit of Game Over. And now let's put it together. All right, this is gonna be super simple to do. I'm gonna zoom in quickly so you guys can really see how to put this together. All right, because it's a really little flower, so I want you to be able to see it from the distance we were at. All right, so I'm gonna just grab a piece of white cardstock so you guys can see. So I grab this die cut, that's what we start out with, and then I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm going to just plop a little bit down in the center there. And then I like these little tweezers from Altenew. You can use whatever sort of little detail tools you have to pick these up. And you're going to take this little die cut and you're going to rotate it just so that it fits right in between those petals and then place it down. Super simple. And then give a little bit of pressure so that it dries and transfers really nicely. So look at that, already so simple. We only have one more layer left. So all we're gonna do is add a little bit of glue down to the center then. And then I also like, when things get even smaller, I like this little pickup tool. I believe this one was from Bruce Monroe. And I'm gonna add this right down into the center. And then press it down with the pokey side. And there we have our poinsettia. Now you can go as detailed as you want to, right? Because there are some little details that you can add if you want to. You don't have to, but some of these littler details make it really easy to put together. So I'm going to, I just like to add a little bit of glue down onto here. This glue will dry clear. Oh no, it's moving down whatever is not dry already. All right, so I'm gonna go in with a little bit of liquid glue and I just add a little layer down to that surface. It's the tiniest little bit and you're not gonna see it because once it dries nice and clear and matte. And I'm just gonna go in, there's these tiny little dots in this set, almost like little berries, and I'm just going to add these right down to the center of the piece. It's so simple to do, but it makes a big difference to add that little bit of texture down. All right, so let me lift it up so you guys can really see that. So simple to put together and have a really nice little flower once you're done, right? I love that. And then if you want to, because I didn't want to cut it out of glitter cardstock, I don't really love how metallic cardstocks necessarily look. So I'm gonna go in using a little bit of slippery when wet lunar paste. And all I do, I did this for the little berries, I used a little bit of bee sting too. And all I do is I just go in with my little brush here. I'm gonna add a little bit of slippery when wet lunar paste onto my brush, and then I just dab it right in the center. And it doesn't take away any of the details. We're using such a thin little layer, so you can still see all of those little berries and that amazing texture that we added. You can see a little tiny bit goes a long way. And then check that out. Let me pick it up here. I mean, come on. It just adds so much depth in that shine on the die cut. And I love how simple it is, right? Because we didn't have to cut it out of a bunch of different colors of cardstock. Just that red, and we're still able to add that beautiful shine onto it. All right. Then make sure you just clean off your brush. So if I used a paintbrush for this, I'm just going to make sure to run it out with a little bit of water. Otherwise your brush is gonna get a little bit crusty in there. You don't want the lunar paste to dry inside your brush. All right, and then let's put together my deer really quickly. All right, so I'm gonna go in using a little bit of ink again. Here I'm using a little bit of gur. And all you need to do is just simply go around the edge. And again, it's not a necessity to do this, but you can already tell, like, it just brings a little bit of warmth to the edges. It makes the die cut stand out a little bit more. It's super simple to do too. Right, it's these little tiny details that really make it matter. On this ink, in my opinion too, by adding this little bit of like 3-dimension, it makes it so we don't have to go in with a million layers, right? We don't need each layer to be a different color if we have different colors of ink that we're already putting on here. All right. So then it's super simple to put together. So we got this head. Now I'm going to grab the antlers. And with the antlers, there's little tiny notches. I'm not even sure if you're going to be able to see this. Maybe we'll just have to take my word for it. Do you see that little notch? It's the same shape as this little notch in the top of his head. So it makes it super simple to just add a little bit of glue down to the bottom. And then go in here and line it up perfectly with that notch. So simple to do, right? Sometimes liquid glue is a little bit more difficult for me to use. I'm so used to using a tape runner for everything. And then I'm going to grab the other piece. All right. No, I did this wrong. Leave it to me to mess up my own die. This notch is facing this way. And then this notch faces this way. See, I'm telling you, the notches are the same shape. So right when I noticed it, it's easy to just pull off. And there we have the beautiful antlers. And what I love about these guys is they are not perfect, right? Each one is not exactly the same, which I love. It adds a little bit of character to him. It makes him a little bit more playful and fun. And of course, you can kind of move them up if you want to and have them a little bit more upward facing or have them both out a little bit more. It really depends on kind of the character that you want to create with this little guy. So now it's all about the little details, right? All you need to do is add a little bit of glue down. Again, these are creased in there, so you know exactly where to put everything, which I asked for them to do, and it makes it super helpful to know exactly where everything goes. So super simple. Again, I recommend grabbing one of these little tools for some of these little tiny details. I cut these out of a lighter piece of cardstock, and you can see how easy is that to add down all of these little tiny pieces. The ears have a little piece, and then one more piece for the other side. And then we'll add down a little bit more glue. And we'll add down his nose right in the center. I love his little nose. And I cut that out of a really dark brown cardstock. And I mean, come on. This guy just has so much character, which is what I love so much about him. So there are little dies that go along with the nose, so you can cut them out of dark brown cardstock. And if you want to, you could inlay them into there on your project. It's easy, but I like to flip it over onto the backside. And I'm gonna go in with tape runner just because I'm more comfortable with it, to be honest. But you could definitely add liquid glue. I'm getting used to using liquid glue because it's easier on die cuts. But wherever I can cheat the system and go back in with a tape runner, I do. And I grabbed just a little piece of black cardstock that I cut out. It doesn't need to be any sort of shape or size. I just cut a little rectangle that's smaller than the image so that it doesn't peek over. And look how easy that is. So simple, and he's got a little pair of black eyes. No little fussy areas, no little tiny dots. And that's what I love about it. It makes it just so simple to do. All right, so once we're done with that, let's see. I'm just gonna make sure that this is ready and working. We can move on to our next step. So I think this is ready. My platform has been on for quite some time, and in fact, the light turned off. So maybe that means the machine turned off as well. I'm not exactly sure. Let me turn this guy back on. It seems really super hot, so we're gonna go right into hot foiling, all right? Because I wanna show you guys how the hot foiling system sort of works. I know there's been a little bit of confusion around it because there's lots of different types of foiling, okay? There's tons of foiling on the market, and Glimmer hot foiling has a different system than sort of a toner foiling that you would use. And we're gonna come back to everything we've been making, so don't worry, the deer is gonna come back on the card that we create. I'm gonna just zoom out a little bit more. And let's talk about hot foiling. So hot foiling is a Glimmer system. There's also, I think, other companies who make sort of a similar system. I'm not sure if some of them are retiring them, but I know that the Glimmer system is here to stay. And you can buy foil for the Glimmer hot foil system from Spellbinders. So check out all their different colors that they have. They have a ton of different shiny and shimmery colors you can use. I picked out this pack because it looks like it's going to be amazing for Christmas. It's got a nice sampling in it, but there's lots of different colors to use. The reason why I'm talking about the foiling is because a sort of toner foil, anything you use through a laminator, is not going to work with the Glimmer foil machine. So I want to put that out right of the way. If you're buying these Glimmer hot foil products and you don't have any other Glimmer products, you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need the Glimmer foils, which are used with this system. It's because it has a different type of adhesive in this foil than what's in the toner foils. All right, so it's how it adheres. Then you're going to need the Glimmer hot foil system. I think I've linked down below to both this and the Platinum machine as well. So you're going to need this machine, and it's going to work through your Spellbinders Platinum machine. All right, so you can purchase a Platinum die cutting machine if you would like as well, if you don't have one. And that's what you need to sort of get started in the Glimmer hot foiling world. I wanted to just make that super clear because I know some people were asking me the other day, like if I glued something down or if I added toner to it, but it really is all in the metal plates that you have. All right, so I'm gonna go in using the Joyful Christmas Sentiments hot foil plate. We're gonna foil some of these sentiments down. To do this, I like to start off by using a little cutting mat. Again, I have all of these miscellaneous supplies linked down below in the description box. I love this one. It's a nice small cutting mat. I didn't want a huge one, but the reason why I like this is because it protects my surface, but also I'm easily able to pull it in and out off of the surface, which is super nice. I also linked down below the rotary trimmer. This is one that I like to use. It's got a nice little protection on there so that you don't cut yourself when it's closed like that. And this is just going to make cutting the foil super, super simple. All right. So having these two tools was a game changer for me when it came to doing my foiling. It makes it so much easier. Let me just tell you that. So I'm going to grab green foil to do my sentiment. I love this green foil, and you can find this color in that pack that I just shared. All right, and then all I like to do is just place down my Glimmer foil plate, and then I'm going to quickly trim right around this. It's super simple to do. Now, if I was foiling this right down onto a card and I wasn't going to cut it out, you're going to want to go around some of the edges and details a little bit more. So like here, I'd want to make sure there's not too much foil because sometimes that foil can cause overfoiling and you don't want that, all right? So just get rid of any of the excess foiling around the edges. But here, I'm going to die cut this out anyways, so it doesn't really matter for me, but I just wanted to share that. That's why this tool is so helpful, because with the scissors, you have to kind of pick it up and you don't know exactly where your foil plate is going to be, whereas this makes it super simple to get into those details and be able to easily cut apart that foil, all right? Some people are talking about what different machines the Glimmer foil will work in. I know there's a couple of manual machines that it'll work with from different companies. So check on the website. I believe it might tell you what it's compatible with because I'm not exactly sure. All right, I'm gonna grab in the Glimmer hot foil system and let me quickly show you how this works. So it'll say platform ready. Once it's ready, you're gonna turn it on and then wait until that green light comes on. Once that comes on, you're then able to start your foiling. So I'm gonna place down this foil plate here. There's also a couple ways you could do this as well. I'm gonna just show you this way today. Actually, let's play it safe. All right, I'm gonna play it a little bit safer just because I don't want it to move during this live stream. But there's a couple ways you could do it. You could place it right onto here and layer up your sandwich right on there, or you can go right onto your cardstock. Now, whenever I'm foiling, I'm going to place my foil down onto my cardstock like this. Pretty side is facing me, all right? The pretty side is going to touch this design. So you're going to place the pretty design side down onto the pretty foil. So you want the color facing the design of your foil plate. All right, I'm trying to make that as easy as possible. If you need to, write it somewhere on your machine to remind you. Pretty side faces the pretty side of the foil plate. Otherwise, you're going to foil your foil plate with the foil. I've done it before, so if you do, no need to feel bad. I've done it plenty of times, but I want to just let you know that that is sort of the sandwich. You want to have the foil plate, design side facing the cardstock, and then your foil on the cardstock, design side facing the design of the foil plate. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes I'm talking and it just sounds like a lot of words. All right, so I'm going to place that foil plate right down onto the Glimmer hot foil system, and now we've created our sandwich. You could create the sandwich right on the system as well, by placing the foil plate facing design side upwards, foil, pretty side facing the design, and then your cardstock on top. I just did it so that I could tape it down easily and make sure that it doesn't move as we're moving it through our die cutting machine. Yes. In the comments, Scrapper.com is saying pretty side to pretty side. Exactly. Take your, write down if you have to, because I probably will put a label on here just so that I don't accidentally do it the other way. All right. And then this machine comes with two different plates. You have the thin shim and you have the spacer pad. These are what's going to help it go through your die cutting machine. All right, I'm going to move this off to the side, but once this turns solid, you're ready to go and run it through your machine. I'm just moving it so that I can bring in my die cutting machine and show you guys. All right, I'm going to bring in my Platinum 6 machine. So once that turns solid, you're going to pull it right out of your Glimmer machine. It comes out pretty nice and easily. And then I'm going to place this on here. I'm going to grab my two pads, place them on top, and then I'm going to run this through. Now this is quite hot, so you want to be a little bit careful with it. And you want to run it through pretty slowly. I don't go too slow. Everyone's machine is going to be a little bit different. And I found with my machine, it's got a pretty tight roller pad spacing to it. So it gives lots of pressure. So I don't need to run it through as slow as my older machine. All right. So everyone's machine is going to be a little bit different. That's why when you get yours on hand, test it out. Play around with different settings in your machine. Play around with how fast you run it through, and you're going to get different results. And I'm hoping that today we get, oh, that's awesome. Okay, everything came off together. I'm going to place this off to the side. It comes with a little heating pad, and I'm just going to place that because it's going to be super hot. All right, and check out that beautiful foiling that we get. Look at all of that amazing shine. And like I said, play around with your machine. Last night I was testing it out, and if I ran it too slowly, sometimes it overfoiled a little bit. If I, so I ran it through pretty fast through my machine, and that's how it worked with mine. But I know I had another Spellbinders machine, and all the rollers are spaced a little bit differently, just how manufacturing goes. And each machine is going to need something a little bit different. Now, if there is a little bit of overfoiling, there's not overfoiling on this one, but if you've got a little bit of excess foil, I recommend using the Mono Sand Eraser. Again, I got this linked down below so you guys can grab all of the tools if you're going to invest in this system, but it's super easy to just go in here and erase any of the foiling. So there is a little tiny bit, do you see that little bit down there? I'm going to just go in with my eraser and rub that onto the surface, and it just removes any of the excess foil. It's super simple to go in and just remove that using the sand eraser, and you get such beautiful effects. Check that out. All right, now I'm going to go in using the Joyful Christmas Sentiments, but I'm going to use the die that goes along with it. I wanted to demonstrate this because it is so cool. So we've foiled all of the sentiments in one pass, and now I'm going to bring in my mint tape again, and I'm just going to simply line up all of the sentiments. Just making sure there's an even border all the way around. Super simple to do. And when you line up this one plate, it's going to cut out all of the images on here, which is amazing. I'm gonna bring back in my machine and my cutting plates. All right, and then we're going to place this down and run it right through the die cutting machine. Okay, super cool. I cannot wait to show you guys this. I see you guys in the comments, you're talking about different machines it works with and you're kind of helping each other out, which I really do appreciate. I'll look into it too so I can share that information in a future video on what machines it would work with. And then check this out. You pop out those sentiments and you've got so many sentiments that you could work with. I love how these look. They foil so beautifully. And the fact that we've done the coordinating die that's on all the sentiments at once, it just makes it so simple. And I could see just like grabbing these sentiments and making a bunch of different Christmas cards with it, right? And you could even do like, if you're making your Christmas cards, send all the Christmas cards out, but give everyone a different sentiment, right? It's not gonna make too big of a difference. They're all a similar size, so you could use them interchangeably on your design, but that way you're foiling and cutting 5 at once. So if you're making 100 cards, I'm not gonna do the math, but 20 times. You can tell that I'm not a mathematician. So if that number was wrong too, it's gonna be embarrassing. But you get such beautiful foiling from it. All right, so now we get to put these cards together. Okay, so we're gonna go in using a little bit of foam tape. Now I organized my craft room yesterday, and honestly, I stored my foam tape in such a good spot, but I don't know where I put it. Does that ever happen to you guys? Okay, we're not gonna really worry too much about where that foil or where that foam tape is, but I'm sure it'll turn up. Sure, it'll turn up in a little bit. Sometimes I'm like too organized for my own good. I'm like, that's gonna be such a great storage spot for it, and then I just forget. All right, so I've added a little bit of tape runner on the back, and I'm just going to place this right down onto the surface. Super simple to do, and make sure it's nice and aligned. And check out that beautiful shine that we have on there. I absolutely love how that looks. It just creates such an easy but stunning and sophisticated card. Now, with this little sample that I made last night, I also went in and I taped off the leaves really simply. I just used a little bit of mint masking tape, and you're able to just go in there and add a little piece of tape here and there to tape off the edges. And then I just stamped down the leaves all over, and it's a really easy way to mask off those images. And then you also get a little surprise when you open the card too. So you could add those leaves down and create such a beautiful effect as well. But I'm just gonna keep today's card with just the poinsettia popping through. All right. Now, when it comes to a background, I wanted to share the glimmer hot foil background that we've already created using the Geo snowflakes. All right, I love that shine here. I used gold foil to foil this down. And now I want to show how to add a little bit of shading. So I'm going in using a little bit of overzealous. I'm gonna go in and just grab my ink blending tool. Here I'm using a domed foam blending tool. And this is why I said it was important to foil on stark white cardstock. You get a beautiful foiled effect, but if you're adding any sort of inks, any sort of slick cardstock isn't going to hold your ink beautifully, and it's not gonna layer up nicely. And with this technique, I'm gonna do lots of layering. All right, so I'm going in here first with my lightest color called overzealous, and I'm just going to add down ink. You can see my inks blend super nicely. I'm not even using like a good blending motion, right? I'm literally just swiping it back and forth. And you can see you're getting such a nice, beautiful, solid color on there. And that's what I love about my inks. We really formulated them to do everything nicely, but like the blending on them is phenomenal. I love how simply they just blend on the surface beautifully. All right, so adding down the first color, super easy. And then I'll go in using my second color. Let's see, what do I want to use here? I think I'm going to use a I'm going to use a little bit of later gator, which is going to give me just a little bit of darker blending. And layer that up a little bit. All right. So later gator is just like one step up, and it's going to give me just a little bit of darker blending. And this is sort of how I made that red card that I showed you. I know a lot of people liked that. I think it really steps up your foiling, and it really gives you such a beautiful background. All right, so you could skip this color if you want to. I'm going to go a little bit more drastic on the next layer. But I think it's a nice gradual shading then. And I'm just going right around the edges to blend this up. Super easy to do. And you can see like these two colors even, sometimes inks just don't blend well together. And I just love how simply it is. It's like, it doesn't take any effort. It's not difficult to do. It's super simple. I leave the center area lighter, always. Next, I'm going and using a little bit of fake plant. And I want to quickly talk about why this design works. I like to leave the center area darker because it draws your eye to the center naturally. Because if you make anything darker on the edge, it's going to kind of, your eye's going to naturally be drawn to whatever is the lightest on the card. And so by making the center the lightest, we're making it so that we can put down a really nice focal point right in the center, and it's going to stand out naturally, right? That's what I love about this sort of design. You'll see me do this pretty often if I want to add a little bit of extra something onto the card, or if I want to add a little bit of dimension and really draw your eye to the center. I do sort of this blending technique by just darkening the edge, and it really goes along. A little bit of ink goes a really long way. All right, so last but not least, well, not last actually, we're adding down a little bit of fake plant, and then we're just gradually going out more and more with each layer. And then last but not least, this color is an integral part of making a background like this. Totally. Like, I could not make something without this color. It's called Shady. I love it. It's this super dark gray, blackish color. Like, it's darker than you think it is. It's pretty much this color on the surface of the lid, but it's very dark gray color, all right? And so I'm going to go in using a little bit of Shady, and I'm just going to hit the edges. You can already tell that it's going to really darken things. Like, it creates such a dark effect on there. But when you layer it up on an already, mid-tone color, like that fake plant color, it's going to kind of turn Shady a little bit green. And it's going to create kind of a dark green tone, which is what I love. So I use this on the edge of my red background. And really without this, it's pretty, but it doesn't give like the impact as just having such a dark edge, which I love to it. It really gives such an amazing dimension. And when you're adding shading like this, going bold with it and creating such a beautiful look is easy to do when it comes to these colors. Like, if you're gonna do that shading and go pretty bold, commit to it and go pretty dark on the edges, and you're gonna just see such an amazing result and effect. So that's sort of why I created this color. It's great layering color to get such a dark effect. So like, mix this in with almost any ink color, like dark blues, reds, greens, are gonna look amazing with this. If you do it with a yellow, you're gonna get mud. So don't try it with like a yellow color, but it works really great with sort of reds, greens, and blues. If you want to do sort of a yellow or a lighter background, maybe try doing like a brownish color on the edge, because it's a warmer color, so that might work a little bit better. Just try different things out, really. Because I never would have known about Shady being this super beautiful color to add for shading unless if I tried it, right? So play around with your supplies and play around with different color combinations. I really encourage it, because you might find it's something that you really love. And then, of course, tag me and share it, because I want to see. All right. I'm going to quickly clean off my craft sheet here. And then for this surface, I like to also go in then using a little bit of paper towel. And I'm just going to go onto the surface and wipe this down. This simply just cleans off the foiling. Foiling is going to be like a slick surface. It's going to resist the ink anyways, because my ink is not permanent. So the foiling is going to resist the ink, so don't worry about that. But it's going to have a little bit of excess ink sitting on the top of it. So this is where I like to just come in, remove that ink quickly, and then you get all of that beautiful shine back. Check that out. And this green is just the perfect Christmas background as well. I love the red, and today I was like, you know what? We're gonna try green, and I love how it looks. It's just beautiful. So let's finish this off quickly. I'm going to grab out a card base. This is my stark white cardstock that I have pre-cut and folded down into a side folding card base. And then I'm going to grab my background here, and we're going to adhere this down using a little bit of tape runner. And I gotta say, this cardstock held up really nicely. You can tell there's a lot of ink on it, but it held up super nice. That's why I love stark white cardstock though. And it's really not just an advertisement for my cardstock, but like for foiling, I know a lot of people use different types, and I just couldn't foil on anything else because I want this sort of dimension in. So I'm so glad that it works beautifully with the foil. All right, you can cut any of the excess off the edge. I'll probably do that after the live stream. But then I want to add this deer down to the center. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna add him down using a little bit of liquid glue. Gonna go in here and add a little bit of liquid glue down. So I'm just gonna go in, add some onto the back, and then let's just add a little tiny bit onto his antlers as well to make sure those get held down. Super simple. All right. And then we'll add this right to the center. And again, centering things after you've done sort of a background like this is super beautiful because you've got that lighter space in the center, and it's really going to just become the beautiful focus of your card. All right. You see that? It really makes that deer head just stand out so beautifully. I love it. Okay, now let's go in with the Deck the Halls sentiment. I'm gonna place this guy. I mean, you could put it front and center like that, should we? Should we cover him up a little bit on the bottom there and put it front and center? That's pretty. Or should we go to the side? Maybe I'll go to the side. You know what? You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do what I did on that example because I love how it looks. And we're gonna add, I think both. I love that. Okay. So, gonna add a little bit more liquid glue. I usually would use foam tape, but like I said, no clue where that disappeared to. I'm going to go in here and add down the Deck the Halls sentiment. Oh, everyone is saying front now. This is the part where it's a little awkward because the live stream is like a little bit delayed, so I don't get to see exactly what everyone's commenting right away. See, if you use just this top little flower, you could probably add one to his ear, which I think would be so cute. I'm gonna throw a little bit down onto there as well. And check that out. I mean, that is just so beautiful. The foiling in the background mixed with all of that beautiful ink to really step it up, and then using the floral stag and the joyful Christmas sentiments. You can see just how well this collection really works together, whether you're using just the dies or whether you're using the stamps and the dies together to create beautiful cards like we did today, where it's stepped up a little bit. You saw all of the super fun examples too, which I really love how they turn out. I mean, there's so many different things you can do now that you've got different dies to play with, so you could really add dimension, whether it's interactive cards, you know, saving a lot of time while cutting things out, or layering things up like this beautiful deer and getting just such a 3D element that is gorgeous. But it's still easy to do, which is what I love about it. All right. Yeah, I know, he's got such a great playful kind of personality, but he also looks pretty sophisticated and regal, like you're saying. That's what I fell in love with the design because it really looked like my style, sort of. You know, I was like, that is exactly what we need in this collection. I love it. All right, you guys, I want to quickly thank you all so much for joining me today. It really is so much fun and an incredible feeling to have this collection launched. I know for the past couple months, I've been creating samples and working with all of the supplies, and really it is an amazing collection to play with. There's a lot of different options, so choose your favorites throughout the collection, and I cannot wait to see what you guys do when it gets into your hands, because really, my job is to design the products and sort of share some inspiration with you. But once that product goes out to you, I get so incredibly inspired. It's super cool to see what you guys are able to do and bringing new life to products, right? Because when you're not the designer of the products, I know exactly how these were designed, how to use them on the cards, but your guys' minds just wander into such cool new places. So I encourage you guys to try different things with the collection, try things you might not have seen from me, and I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with, because your creativity always knocks it out of the park. Thank you all so much for joining. I see lots of you guys are saying this was an awesome release. Of course, there will be tons of inspiration in the coming weeks as well. So lots of videos that we've already got planned coming on how to use the different dies, how to use the stamp sets, and really put some beautiful cards and projects together. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I quickly want to give a huge shout out to both Ranger and the team at Spellbinders. Thank you guys so much. Without both of these amazing teams, this would not be possible. Pulling this off would not be possible without all of the work that goes behind the scenes. And so I just want to let you guys know your work is not unnoticed by me, and I hope everyone in the comments, really appreciates all of the amazing work you put in as well. Whether it's, getting things organized up till the launch, getting all of the dies created too. We did them pretty fast, and so a big round of applause to Spellbinders for being able to put this together and make sure that the dies were here in time to coordinate with everything. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to both teams. It really means the world to me. All right, that's pretty much it for today. I do want to say one more thing. There is another Christmas release coming on October 21st. So watch out for that. Until then, there's going to be so much more inspiration, but that's going to be kind of chapter 2 to finish everything off. If you've noticed, there wasn't any background stamps today or any stencils, and there might be a couple surprises up our sleeves as well. So look forward to that. I'll see you guys then, and thank you so much for joining me for today's live stream.